I couldn't believe my eyes as I pulled into our neighborhood that morning. There she was, Karen McDougal, standing in the middle of Willow Creek Drive at 7:30 a.m., arms firmly crossed over her chest, designer sunglasses, hiding what I knew were narrowed eyes. The school bus was approaching, and Karen wasn't budging. The poor driver gently tapped his horn, which only seemed to make Karen stand taller, her platinum blonde bob gleaming in the morning sun. I could see confused kids pressing their faces against the windows, and parents were beginning to gather on sidewalks, murmuring to each other in disbelief, "This neighborhood has rules." Karen screamed loud enough for everyone within a 3B block radius to hear, "I am tired of the noise every single morning. That ridiculous yellow monstrosity disturbs my peace. It ends today." Parents started pulling out their phones to record the scene. The bus driver, a kind older gentleman who'd been driving this route for years, looked completely bewildered. That's when I noticed a police cruiser turning the corner, and I knew this was about to get interesting. My family had moved to Oakwood Estate 6 months ago, drawn by the beautiful homes and well-maintained lawns. What the realtor conveniently forgot to mention was that our HOA was run by Karen McDougal, a woman who treated the neighborhood bylaws like sacred texts written specifically for her to interpret. The first time I met her was the day after we moved in, when she knocked on our door at 8 a.m. sharp to inform us that our garbage bin was visible from the street, a violation that could result in a $100 fine. Karen lived across from the Thompsons, who had moved in just a month ago with their 3 school-aged children. The Thompsons were lovely people. Mark was a doctor at the local hospital, and his wife Sarah volunteered at the community center. Their kids were well-behaved and polite, but they did commit the unforgivable sin of needing to take the school bus each morning, which stopped right at the corner of their property. Unfortunately, within earshot of Karen's bedroom window, the complaints started small. Karen called the school district twice during the first week to report that the bus was arriving 3 minutes earlier than scheduled. Then came the passive-aggressive letters taped to the Thompsons' mailbox about unnecessary morning chaos and consideration for neighbors who work from home when none of that worked. Karen escalated to emergency HOA meetings, where she proposed a ban on commercial vehicles in residential areas before 9 a.m. I sat through those meetings watching, as most of our neighbors politely but firmly refused to back such a ridiculous proposal. Karen grew more frustrated with each passing day. "You don't understand," she said during the last meeting, her voice trembling with what seemed like genuine distress. "I have important client calls, first thing in the morning. How am I supposed to conduct business with that bus honking and children shouting my rights matter too?" What none of us realized was just how far she was willing to go the night before the incident. My security camera caught Karen wheeling her pristine black trash bins into the middle of the street at 2 a.m. By dawn, she had added her white Mercedes parked sideways behind the bins to create a complete blockade, and there she stood when the bus arrived, like some suburban warrior defending her territory against the invasion of public education. I had stepped outside to walk my dog when I witnessed the standoff the bus driver, Mr. Jenkins, tried, reasoning with her through his open window. "Ma'am, I have 23 children on this bus who need to get to school. Please move your vehicle so we can pass." Safely, Karen's response was to pull out her phone and start recording. "I want your name and employee number. I'm documenting this harassment. You have no right to disturb the peace of this neighborhood. Every single morning with your loud engine and obnoxious honking parents who were waiting with their children began to gather closer. Some were filming, others were calling the school district, and someone, likely me, had called 911. The children on the bus were getting anxious, some of the younger ones pressing worried faces against the windows. Mr. Jenkins radioed for help, his voice remarkably calm, given the circumstances. That's when Officer Rodriguez arrived, parking his cruiser behind the bus and approaching Karen with a professional demeanor that I immediately respected. "Good morning, ma'am. We've received reports of a road obstruction. I need you to move your vehicle and these bins immediately so the school bus can proceed." Karen turned to him with what I can only describe as indignant shock, as if his presence was more offensive than the fact that she was preventing children from getting to school. "Officer, I want to file a complaint against this bus driver for noise pollution and harassment. He deliberately makes excess noise every morning at this exact spot, and the school district has ignored my repeated complaints." Officer Rodriguez tried to reason with her. "Ma'am, right now, you're committing several violations: obstructing traffic, creating a public safety hazard, and impeding an official school vehicle. Those are serious offenses. I'm asking you politely to move your car and bins. Now, do you know who I am?" Karen's voice rose an octave. "I'm the president of this HOA. These streets are private property, and I have every right to regulate who drives on them." And when I couldn't help but interject at this point, "Actually, Karen, our HOA agreement clearly states that while we maintain the roads, they remain public thoroughfares with standard traffic laws, applying page 16, section 4, paragraph 2. I'd become something of an expert on our bylaws, since moving in purely out of self-defense. Karen shot me a look that could have wilted the perfectly manicured hydrangeas in her front yard. "Nobody asked you, this isn't your concern. It is when my kids are on that bus," I replied calmly. Even though my blood was boiling, Officer Rodriguez received a radio call, and moments later, a second police cruiser arrived. The situation had officially escalated. The officer's tone changed slightly, still professional, but with a new firmness. "Mrs. McDougal, this is your final warning move, your vehicle now, or I will have no choice but to place you under arrest for obstruction of justice and creating a public hazard." Something flickered across Karen's face, the first hint that perhaps she realized she'd gone too far. But Karen McDougal had never backed down from a confrontation in her life, and she wasn't about to start. Now she squared her shoulders and lifted her chin. "I am being harassed for standing up for my rights. I will not move until someone addresses the real problem here, which is this bus disturbing hard-working residents every single morning." Officer Rodriguez sighed, and I almost felt sorry for him. "Mrs. McDougal, turn around and place your hands behind your back. Please." The click of handcuffs was audible in the stunned silence that had fallen over our usually quiet street. Parents were wide-eyed. Children were watching from the bus windows in disbelief, and neighbors who hadn't even been waiting for the bus had come outside to witness the spectacle. Karen was still shouting as she was led to the police cruiser, something about neighborhood standards and how we would all regret this treatment. As soon as the police moved Karen's car, the bus rolled forward to a chorus of cheers and relieved sighs from parents and children alike. Mr. Jenkins gave a small, polite wave as he continued down his route, now running 15 minutes behind schedule. I overheard neighbors already discussing an emergency HOA meeting to vote on removing Karen from the board. She's gone too far this time. Mrs. Patel from 2 doors down whispered to me, blocking a school bus. "That's not just mean it's illegal." Karen was released from custody the following afternoon with multiple citations and a court summons. The charges included obstruction of traffic interfering with a school bus, which carried enhanced penalties in our state, and disorderly conduct. The judge set a court date for the following month and warned her about any further similar incidents. The HOA disciplinary hearing was scheduled even sooner. Karen showed up with printed copies of noise ordinances and a decibel meter to prove her point, but it didn't matter. The vote was unanimous, 15-1, to remove her from the board, effective immediately. The fine for her violations of HOA rules regarding improper use of trash bins and unauthorized road blockage came to $3,000. But the most fitting consequence came from the school district itself, citing safety concerns and need for clear visibility. They officially changed the bus route, the new pickup location directly in front of Karen's house every morning at precisely 7:28 a.m. The bus would now stop open its doors with that distinctive hydraulic hiss and collect the neighborhood children under the watchful eye of security cameras the district had installed as a precaution. The look on Karen's face when the transportation